This video has one primary objective. By the end of it, I should have convinced you to make the upgrade to an OLED monitor because I truly believe that it's that significant of a change if you're still using a normal LCD panel. OLED has been around for a while now, with more models being released every year from the likes of Asus, LG, and Samsung, all of which have started offering a 3-year warranty against burn-in, which is one of the biggest risks attached to this technology. With that being said, it's time to jump into the breakdown of why I think you should make this upgrade. Number one is HDR. Now, this term has been thrown around on all kinds of TVs and monitors to the point where it's become a standard. But the truth is that approximately 80% or more of these displays don't actually portray proper HDR content. As a matter of fact, turning it on would actually make the colors and brightness even worse than they would be when compared to having it off. I won't bore you with the details of the entire process here, so I'll give you the short explanation. To get actual HDR, you're pretty much limited to Mini LED, which is backlit, and OLEDs, which are controlled on an individual pixel level. This is necessary because HDR works by brightening up or dimming areas of the screen depending on what's being displayed. Side or edge-lit monitors, which represents the majority, are incapable of doing so since the brightness is controlled across the entire screen, which is a limiting factor in this case. On supported games and movies, HDR is actually a game changer. I for one was not sold on it, but that's because I never really got to experience it properly. But now that I've made the upgrade and actually got to see it for myself, there were moments where I was actually blown away. In games and movies that portray proper HDR, it can completely transform the scene into one that is much more cinematic and lively. Hence why I listed HDR as the number one factor when it comes to the benefits that you get out of an OLED. Number two is brightness and black levels. One of the highlights of OLED is its true black. Thanks again to its ability to control pixels on an individual level, black scenes have the pixels turned completely off, resulting in a true pitch black, which cannot be understated, especially if you game in a dark room. Brightness, on the other hand, is a bit more complicated here. Even though some models can reach over 1000 nits of peak brightness, that's only true on a small scale window, usually 10% or smaller. However, when a white image fills the entire screen, the peak brightness will come down to 200 nits or even less, which is a big difference. The main reason this happens is because white takes a lot of power and therefore produces a lot of heat, which is the biggest killer for OLED pixels. In real life usage, however, this is not an issue because games and movies have a lot of variable scenes which will not push the panel to those limits, allowing you to stay within the range of 600 to 900 nits on average. It is very difficult to portray the effects on camera, but in this scene, for example, the sun is so bright to the point where you'd actually squint if you're looking at it directly. Number three is colors. This is another strong point for OLEDs that inherit the benefits of pixel level control as well as the increased contrast thanks to true blacks. The results are a more vivid and color accurate screen when compared to traditional LCDs. And this plays a dramatic role when combined with HDR for a more lively image overall. Quantum dot OLEDs or QD OLEDs take these effects a step further with a wider color gamut and even higher brightness. As of today, it's the ultimate form of OLED technology when it comes to image quality. But I will not be talking about the differences between WOLED and QD OLEDs here. We'll keep that for another time. Number four is minimal input lag. If you're a gamer, you'd appreciate this feature the most out of all the points I listed here. It happens to be one of the main benefits when using an OLED with a response time ranging from 1 ms to 0.3 ms, depending on the model that you're using. This, in combination with a high refresh rate, which is quickly ramping up with all the new models coming out, means you get the best performance for competitive use, with the only true rival being 8TN panel, which is not only an ancient technology, but also by far the worst looking in image quality. These 4 points conclude why I believe you should consider making this upgrade, and I have tried and reviewed many monitors of all sizes and configurations, and even though I knew a lot about OLED, I didn't get to truly appreciate it until I tried it out for myself. The results were so good to the point where I decided to make the upgrade myself, and I ended up getting an LG C3. I spend many hours on my PC, be it for gaming, content consumption, or even work, and moving from a high-end Asus IPS panel to an OLED felt like a huge upgrade. I could almost compare it to moving from a CRT TV from the 90s to an LCD flat screen when those first came out. It improved on every aspect of my experience, from gaming on a PS5 to PC and even watching movies. The last thing I wish to mention here is choosing the appropriate screen for your usage. If you're a hardcore gamer, I think a 2K 240Hz 27-inch monitor would be ideal for you. In my case, I went for a 48-inch LG TV, which is limited to 120Hz, but I don't really mind that since most of my games are AAA titles, as well as watching movies, which heavily benefits from the built-in OS on this TV for the native HDR support from the apps such as Netflix and YouTube. And so that concludes everything I wanted to say here. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like and stay subscribed for future content.